Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bonaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishawahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We started out with verse 1 to 5, which was entitled, we were enumerating the 5 types of seers. And we said that in reference to the world, the sense organs are the seer. So this means without the sense organs, watching, hearing, tasting, there is no world. That's why when you close your eyes, form is gone. Close ears, sound is gone. If we only had sight, then you would still see the world, but minus all of the other worldly things like hearing and tasting and so on. So if you think about your experience, the whole thing is just 5 types of data. There's a visual data, there is hearing, there is tasting, there is tactile feedback, and there is smelling. And all of our activity in the world is all about those 5 types of objects. All of the commercial activity is about those kinds of objects. Every single conversation is about 5 senses. Hey, look at that. Wow. Right? So we connect based on what we see and what we hear. So, in reference to the world, sense organs are the seer. In reference to the sense organs, the mind is now the seer. In reference to the mind, consciousness is the seer. In reference to consciousness, you should stop me. In reference to consciousness, there is no seer. And therefore, consciousness is the final seer. So, na udeti, na drishyate. So, there is no other seer than consciousness. No one is watching your consciousness, whereby your consciousness is watching the mind. Your consciousness, therefore, is the final reality, and there's nothing after consciousness. That is it. So, therefore, God's consciousness is exactly the same as your consciousness. Now, when it says drik, this drik is referring to this consciousness. When it says drishya, it's referring to the mind, to the sense organs, and to the world. Okay? So the verse 1 to 5 was enumerating these 3 seers and their relationship. And what was the purpose of doing this kind of logic? The purpose was so that you can take it step by step, because we all understand the world, we all relate to the sense organs, and then we help the student go from the world to the sense organs, to the mind, and the mind itself changes all day long, and therefore I have to be something other than those changes, because you don't experience yourself changing all day long. You do experience your emotions. That's why you say, my emotions, my thinking. And as we have seen in Tattva Bodha, how do you identify something that is not me? You call it my. So whatever is my is not me. That is the logic. Because if it were to be you, you would not call it my. It would be who you are all the time. You only say my, meaning there is a witness in reference to that which is being seen to be mine. That means it's in front of me, the witness. In reference to that relationship, I say it is mine. Therefore, whatever is mine is not me. That's the simple logic. My doubt, not me. My impatience, not me. My patience, not me. My confusion, not me. My ignorance, not me. My knowledge, not me. My struggles, not me. My joys, not me. My successes, not me. My failures, not me. Whatever is mine is not me. Therefore, it is not the Drig. Then verse 6 to 12, we talked about the formation or the function of the three seers. How is consciousness formed? It is not formed. Consciousness eternally is. It's the only principle that's always there. So as we said, consciousness is unborn. There was never a time when consciousness was not. Because the logic is to create a universe out of no consciousness, then how can you see the problem there? How can you create a universe which requires intelligence if it didn't have consciousness before? Therefore, in the presence of consciousness, the universe gets manifest. Now, this consciousness is, if there were to be a function of consciousness, what would it be? The answer is, if there is a function of consciousness, it is not to illumine the world. Why not? Consciousness does illumine the world, but consciousness, how? How does consciousness illumine the world? So function of consciousness is not to illumine the world, because what function illumines the world? That belongs to the function of the sense organs. The function of consciousness is not to illumine the sense organs, because the sense organs get illumined by the mind. So if you are to say or pose a question, what is the function, not that it has a function, but what is by its mere virtue of being, like the sun, it just shines. By the mere virtue of being, what is its function? To illumine the mind. Therefore, when the mind gets illumined, now you say, what is the function of the mind? The function of the mind is not only to borrow the light of consciousness, but then use that borrowed light to give that light to the sense organs. And the borrowed light of the mind, by that borrowing, the sense organs give that light to the world. So the mind borrows light from consciousness, the sense organs borrow light from the mind, the world borrows the light from the senses. And this is how consciousness illumines the whole world. When your mind is imagining something, then it's obviously in the presence of borrowed light of consciousness. So if you're in this little bubble, imagination, then your mind's too busy imagining and it's not giving that light to your sense organs. So you can be like this daydreaming, right? And things are just flying right past you. Your eyes are open, but they're not receiving the light of consciousness. That's something that we've all experienced. So only when your mind connects to the sense, like snap out of it, instantly that light gets sent through the eyes, through the ears, and then you start to sense the world again. Verse 13 to 21. And we call this the cause of samsara and its remedy. I don't think we define samsara, but samsara means it's not just all doom and gloom, it's also joys. So samsara just means functioning in this cycle of challenges and joys. And so that becomes your life. So when it says the cause of samsara, that means the cause of why am I here in the first place? And we said maya upadhi, and the remedy. So the first thing is to understand what's the difference between the ahamkara and the sakshi. The sakshi is the Drig. And we said the ahamkara is not only your sense organs, but it's also your mind. So if you want one name for the memory, the mind, the body, and the intellect, if you want one name for it, I sense. Now this I sense is what experiences punyam and papam. It is what experiences afflictions. Even the I sense of a wise person goes through punyam and papam, also experiences afflictions. Even Rama and Krishna's I sense went through afflictions. Therefore, everyone's I sense is made to go through punyam and papam. Punyam and papam. So there's no question of a wise person having a magically, kind of a free eye sense, because the eye sense is made to respond to the world. It has to. If the world is unpleasant, the eye sense takes the shape of that unpleasantness. So it gives you feedback. What do I do with this data? So this is the eye sense. Sense organs and the mind makes up your eye sense. And the body, of course. The whole thing makes up, the whole functionaries of the human being makes up one individual, one eye sense. And that eye sense becomes the traveler between lokas. Die, travel, die, travel, die, travel. So what travels after death? When we say travels, what is that travel? In common language, we say the soul. But in Vedanta, we don't use this word. We say the subtle body. So the eye sense travels. The sense of I to be this much, as we said, the as though confinement, right? Space, right? Space as though confined. And the body dies, and now it's still confined by its eye sense. So that travels until a new body attaches, and it says, oh, look, my body, like that. And then the Sakshi, we said, is all-pervading, invariable consciousness. All-pervading means there's no place where it's not. How far do you have to go, outer space, to suddenly not be aware anymore? At what point do you have to travel? Suppose you travel up to heaven, and you're like, okay, heaven. How far up do you have to travel to suddenly have no awareness of where you are? Brahma Loka, the highest Loka. What are you going to say? Brahma Loka. Awareness is at Brahma Loka. And then you're supposed to go to Brahma Loka and learn this knowledge. And what is Brahmaji going to say to you? Your nature is the very awareness here that was right there on earth. Oh, I came all the way up here just to learn Tattvamasi. Right? I could have learned it with my teacher downstairs. Therefore, how far do you travel outwards to not be aware? It can't happen, because wherever you are, wherever I am, there I am. Wherever I go, there I am. Therefore, but what's going to change along your path from here to Brahmaloka? Names and forms, names and forms, names and forms, lokas, 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 lokas. One invariable thing is going to be, I am, I am, I am. And not only that, but it's going to be also, the sense of I am is also going to be changing, because your sense of I am is going to be in heaven very different than when it reaches a different loka, right, a different world. But throughout that, there's an invariable presence. No matter how high up, how down you go, left or right. And we also said that when it comes to living, there's no mix, this I sense and awareness are always mixed together. You cannot separate your I sense from awareness. You know when they say destroy the ego? Well, we kind of did that in verse 31. The knots of the heart are cut, but we understood that from a different standpoint. We didn't say destroy the I sense, we just say understand the satya mithya relationship between your I sense and I. So even though they're always mixed, if I apply the satya mithya relationship, I understand that my I sense has no reality apart from me, that which obtains in every state of mind, in every opinion about myself. That which obtains is awareness. And therefore that is satyam, but that which changes and depends on the one that in whose presence the state of mind is awared, that is the I sense. The next question is, why do we suffer samsara? Right? Why is there suffering? The reason is because there is a mixture in reference to I and Sakshi. So if the clay is always free of the pot is that which breaks, it is that which grows or gets smaller. Because I do not have knowledge of that, I take myself innocently as the small thing, the big thing. The small thing, the big thing. Because there's such an intimate relationship between awareness and I sense, not knowing that, innocently, we all take ourselves as the I sense, right? The pot. And for that reason, what goes through pain? The I sense. Because the I sense is that which receives the pain receptors from the body. It's what receives the, your failing memory. That data goes into the I sense. And if my eye is put in the I sense, then naturally I'm going to say, I'm losing my eye. It's kind of degrading, it's getting older, and so on. And the second reason is because when it comes to the world, we make the exact same mistake. The world has a satya-mithya relationship, and there's such an intimate mixture between sat and chit and name and form that where is our focus naturally? On the name and form. Therefore, everything becomes worthy of pursuit. The new car is worthy of pursuit. Family is worthy of pursuit. Roller coasters are worthy of pursuit. Money is worthy of pursuit. The whole thing is worthy of pursuit. Why? Because it seems that everything in the world has its own unique reality. And so it's like billions of realities. I want this reality for me, and I want this reality for me. So the I sense wants to add realities onto itself because it believes that it is a reality of its own. Therefore, if I add this reality, then I'm going to be bigger now. And now let me subtract some undesirable realities. So this is what we call constant process of, fine-tuning the mind, and there's no end to it, okay? So for these two reasons, intimate relationship between I and I sense, and intimate relationship between existence and names and forms. For this reason, focus goes on the mithya, and therefore it's a pursuit lifelong. The second reason why there is suffering is because our focus, as I said, is only on the ahamkara. And therefore there's no refuge. The ahamkara is constantly going through changes, ups and downs. And if your eye is there, you have no refuge. Your only refuge is to escape to a new reality for a moment through whatever means and get some recluse, get some relief. So for these two reasons, we have we have suffering. Therefore, what happens is when you understand this knowledge, it's not like your I sense disappears, you just understand the reality of the I sense. And you understand that which goes through pain is not I, the clay, but what goes through pain is the appearance of clay, which is called the I sense. Then the next question is, then what is the remedy for samsara? The remedy is, first of all, knowledge that is keeping with what is. So this means the right knowledge. And what this means is that in reference to I, what is right knowledge in reference to I? That wherever I am, there's always two realities there. When you say I am, two things, ahamkara and the awareness of the ahamkara. That's the right knowledge. The moment I lose that knowledge, I have no choice but to go through the transitions of the I sense. Firstly, in relation to the I, there's two realities. So just like Mina said, I exist. Who is making that claim? Both. In the presence of Sakshi, ahamkara makes this claim. But when the wise person says, I exist, what's the difference between an unwise person saying, I exist, and a wise person saying, I exist? When the unwise person says, I exist, it's referring to its individual form. So that one who said it, that much exists. When the wise person says, I exist, then the I goes much deeper. It expands much beyond this body. This is knowledge. That means the existence because of which you are is the same existence because of which I am. So when a wise person says, I exist, then that existence is referring to the total existence, right? Which makes up all forms, including the I who said that statement. So the first remedy for samsara, first is knowledge in reference to the I sense and the real I. The second is knowledge in reference to the world. So again, the world is always two realities. As we said, anything in this world consists of asti, bhati, priyam, and everything else is nama, rupa. Therefore, in any moment, I understand that whatever I see, there are 5 things at once. It is a modification of existence awareness. In the presence of existence, in other words, This is borrowing the existence of what? The clay. This is borrowing the existence of clay. So the only difference is the name and form. But both of them are in the presence of one existence. Therefore, whenever you see anything, it is asti, bhati, and priyam. It exists. It is revealed. In other words, it reveals itself to me, and it has. It is the nature of itself is without a second. In other words, the nature of existence and awareness is without a second. At the same time, I acknowledge the name and form, and I transact with the name and form according to the laws of the order. What about your thoughts? How many things are inside your thoughts? 5. What about your concern? How many things are inside your concern? What makes up your concern? 5 things make up your concern. What about your knowledge? 5 things make up your knowledge. Okay? This is something that is a fact. Now, is this only a fact today? No. This was also a fact 200,000 years ago in the last creation, and it will be a fact in many, many years to come from now.
5 things are 5 senses or asti bhati priyam roop naam?
If you look at the world, it's always going to be nama rupa. The nama rupa, the content of nama rupa is, don't say awareness yet, the content of the nama rupa is intelligence. Thank God someone said that. Intelligence. Making that nama rupa what it is. The content of intelligence is asti bhati priya. This is the right order. This is the right knowledge in reference to the world. And then we talked about verse 22 to 31, which was 6 types of meditation. And there were 3 internal meditations, and there were 3 external meditations. Internal means with closed eyes. External means while you're driving a car or walking or with your open eyes or looking out into the ocean or whatever it is. And the first is thought meditation. This is with closed eyes. Thought meditation means closing one's eyes in reference to all of the thoughts that are passing. You just let those thoughts pass. Next one, next one. Whatever passes, your only goal is to cognize that which is invariable. What is that invariable in all of my thoughts right now as they're passing in my mind? What is that which is completely still and invariable and is always true and present in the presence of these moving thoughts? I am consciousness, the watcher, the witness, the witness. You understand this meditation? This is a very nice meditation. So this means you let your thoughts go. Don't even try to tell them or direct them where to go or how to do it. Just let this whole ocean of thoughts go, and always return your focus onto that which is there, equally here now as it was before, equally now here as it was, equally now here as it was. Always true, always invariable. The second type of meditation is closing eyes, and then I entertain what are the features of consciousness. This is whereby we take one word, such as all-pervasive or invariable, and just reflect, what does it mean for something to be invariable? So you're going into thinking mode. What does invariable mean? You can also say things like bringing a word of consciousness such as asanga. Asanga means it is attributeless, nothing sticks onto it. So what does it mean for that which is attributeless? And you have this little thought about consciousness. Yes, you are objectifying it, but at the same time, you're thinking about what consciousness is. Okay, so this helps your mind to understand, ironically, what consciousness is, because your thoughts are keeping with what consciousness actually is. It is attributeless. It does accommodate. It doesn't get tainted. It doesn't get divided. Therefore, I take one word and I say, what does it mean for consciousness which doesn't get contaminated? What is not contaminated in my experience? Like this. Okay, this is a very useful meditation that deepens your understanding of you. Because when I say consciousness, I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about something else over there. You, your name is consciousness. Your surname is consciousness. Your identity is consciousness. This is why we have to turn this language from consciousness and I am Brahman into I. Make it very, very personal. This is the final step. Whichever of these two that you do, there can be what we call a spontaneous absorption. That can happen or not. That's called nirvikalpa. So this spontaneous absorption just means you stop entertaining consciously. It just runs in autopilot in the background. Okay, that's it. So this can happen or this may not happen. It doesn't really matter. What's most important is that you bring these first two. One, I understand or I bring in the features of consciousness. And two, in reference to the changing thoughts, what is unchanging? That is your meditation with closed eyes. Now, what about open eyes? With open eyes, we said, look at any object in this world and recognize the isness of it. Just the isness of it. Like cloud is, fatigue is, sleepiness is, focus is, okay? Listening, word is, bird is, thought is. So just put your focus on the existence aspect of anything that appears in your awareness. And you'll find that the isness always remains. But what changes is the superimpositions onto that isness. And the second meditation that is external with your open eyes is you entertain, then when I say entertain, I mean bring in relevant scriptural statements or words that describe what existence is. And what do we say about existence? It's all-pervading. It obtains in the 3 periods of time. Things is yesterday, things is today, things is tomorrow. Okay? Therefore, we are entertaining. What does it mean? What does existence mean? Not qualified existence. I'm talking about the content because of which anything is, right? The isness of it. And the third is whereby it's absorption. So this is what we call in the background, you're walking and doing your thing throughout the day, but in the background, there's an inquiry going on. And how does self-inquiry, spontaneous self-inquiry happen? Like with anything, you have to entertain it for some time, so it becomes so ingrained in your mind that it's throughout your mind. It's always being entertained. The inquiry is always going on. And finally, verse 32 to 46, this was a very short section. We said this was a model of the 3 jivas, and we said paramartika jiva, pratibhasika jiva, and vyavaharika jiva. So what is pratibhasika jiva? It is nothing but ahamkara in the dream state. Pratibhasika jiva. What is vyavaharika jiva? It is nothing but ahamkara in the waking state. And both of them, we said, are mithya. That means they have a dependent reality on whom? On what? On paramartika jiva, the illuminator of the 2 jivas. And finally, we said, it was a nice little example that a jiva was like a little foam, and vyavaharika jiva was like a wave. And we need to pop those waves to come to and appreciate the vyavaharika jiva. When they say self-love, have love for yourself, like not accepting oneself and, having a hard time just accepting your strengths and weaknesses. What is this? And so they say, go in the mirror and say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. You see this? This doesn't work because you're not addressing the cause, you're only addressing the effect. The cause is those foams, the pratibhasika. So there are notions that I have to look into and reframe and find those parts that are great about you. What are those parts that are really shining that you're taking for granted? Those parts, the person starts to look into and starts to bring more into their awareness rather than those criticisms and those smallness and those inadequacies and all of these other things that the person has been entertaining for a very long time. So the person starts to find, what are my strengths? What are my top 10 qualities, right? What do people appreciate me for? Do you know this? And so the person starts to entertain this, and you come back to reality. You're negating those effects of those bubbles. And when you understand this person, you see the person, then you can start to inquire into the nature of the person. And it becomes much, much easier than if I'm carrying all of these bubbles on me and then trying to look through these bubbles, right, into consciousness when I've not even seen the ordinary person. Okay? Therefore, this is the summary of Drig Drishya Viveka, and this closes our course. I understand it's not kind of like, fireworks and all this, and it's good. You know why? Because suppose I give you all fireworks and it's all, all up in the air. Then when you go home, the contrast between the fireworks and home is like that. And then you say, oh, it was a class. So it's good to just bring the person back to baseline and just acknowledge the reality is reality. There's no fireworks to this or that. This is all changing anyway. The knowledge is what counts. In the presence of this reality, all that is here is Ishvara. And Ishvara manifests as all of these names and forms, and I'm not away from Ishvara. And I have a duty to the world, as everyone has a duty in this world, and we simply go back into the world and we do our duty as we always did, keeping in mind this knowledge whenever possible.